H2K Infosys provides world-class online IT training, staffing, and software testing solutions to customers worldwide. H2K Infosys, how we are different from our competitors. 100% job-oriented training, hands-on project work, cloud test lab, resume preparation and review, mock interviews, robust syllabus, one-time fee and lifetime access to classes, access to recorded sessions of live classes. H2K Infosys has won the trust of thousands of students worldwide. For a free demo class, visit us at h2kinfosys.com.
.NET. Now I can see that Meghnad and ASP.NET are printed below. So that is how normally we do. So we declare the variables as private, and we will write one method to read the values, and we'll write other method to do some manipulations, to do some calculations. Okay. So now I have one student details. So if I want to read other student details, I need to create another object, student s2. So that is how you are completely reusing this functionality of class. That is use of a class. A class is designed to create in such a way that it will form its own entity, and all the student details will be having in that class. Okay, we'll have a theory discussion in the next class. What is a class, like what is abstraction, what is encapsulation, what is data hiding. So we have some concepts, theory concepts, which we'll be seeing in the next class. But before that, till now, is it clear to all of you? Okay, so now, okay, another question. I'm having a question like, can we assign objects like object1 equal to object2? Yes, we can do that. Okay, so I got a question from one of the students saying like I have s1 equal to new student. Now if I declare another student, like for example, that is a good question. Actually, we are going to discuss that in the next class. I thought we can discuss in the next class. So for example, if I declare s2 is equal to new student, I can actually assign like this, s2 is equal to s1. Okay, so now let's try to print this. s2 dot print name and s2 dot print course. Okay, so now let's run this. So let me give the student name as Ravi and course as SQL Server. See, now I'm printing two times, Ravi SQL Server, Ravi SQL Server, because I'm assigning this s1 to s2. So this values, whatever I have, data, name and course, will be copied to this s2 again. So I'm printing name and course. Okay, so is that answers your question? Anyway, we'll discuss more about this in the next class. Okay, so now rapid fire questions. So I'll ask questions, and you need to tell the answers very quickly. Okay, so now first question. So you need to ping me in the chat window. Okay, so int data type is value type. Okay. Okay, so now an object is blueprint to create class. True or false? I repeat again, an object is blueprint to create a class. So I told in a reverse way. Okay, I'm seeing mixed responses. Someone are saying true, someone are saying false. I repeat what I said. An object is blueprint to create a class. That is wrong, because I told in a reverse way. A class is a blueprint to create object. Okay, so a class is a blueprint to create object. So now next question. An object is instance of a class. Okay, perfect. Now next question. If I don't specify anything like public or private, by default the variable is public. Okay, so by default the variable is private. So all of you are correct. Okay, next question. So normally in C# we declare variables as private. in any object-oriented programming, variables we normally declare as private, and it is not necessary to have them as private, but yeah, but it's a normal process. So it's true. So whatever I said is true. Normally in C# we declare variables as private, and methods we declare as public. Okay, so now see, if we make the methods as private, then no point of having that method. Okay, I repeat again, just a second. Okay, so now if you see here, this methods, every method will have its own functionality. So now this read student details method is used to read the student details. Print name will print the name. Print course will print the course. So every method will have its own functionality. So if you make this print name as private, then no point of having this method, because this functionality, if you cannot access outside from here, then what is the purpose of having this method? Okay, so but sometimes you might need to make this method as private. In that case, you will access this method from other method. Okay, don't worry, leave it. So for now, what you should be clear is, I'll just summarize very quickly. You should be clear in all these things. Okay, so I'll quickly summarize, just in case if you are not clear on this, you can ping me. The first point, whatever we discussed today, I'm going to summarize. First point, a class is a blueprint to create object. Second point, a class will normally have class variables and methods. Third point, variables or methods by default in a class are private. If you don't mention like public or private, by default they are private. Third point, a public variable or public method can be accessed inside the class or outside the class. Fourth point, a private variable can be accessed only within the class. Okay. Fifth point, we create objects for classes using class name space object name is equal to new class name. Okay. Fifth point, in C# or any other object-oriented programming language, we normally declare variables as private and methods as public. Okay, and a class is collection of methods and variables, and a namespace is collection of classes. Okay, anything not clear in this? Whatever we discussed so far? Okay, so now I'm getting a question. I got a question from Padmini saying like, if a method is private, can it be accessed within the class? Okay, so now sometimes what happens is, okay, so here let's see here, I have a method. I'm making a method called these two methods as private. Okay, I'm making print name and print codes as private, so definitely as these are private methods, I cannot access from here, because a private variable or private method can be accessed only within the class. So I cannot access from here. So what I can do is I can create a new method. I can create a new method called private public void print details, and inside this I can call these two methods, print name and print course. Okay, so now here what I can do, instead of this print name comma print course, I can give s1 dot print details, and I can give here s2 dot print details. So here this method is in turn calling this print name and print course. Since this method is present inside this class student, I can access these two methods. Even though these two are private, I can access them within the class. So that is the reason why I'm able to access these methods inside this class, inside this print details method. Is it clear? Is it clear now? Even though these two are private methods, I'm trying to access them from this method called print details, which is actually present inside the class. Okay, so now when I do this print details, this method print details will in turn call this two, print name and print course. Okay, so now if someone asks you like, can methods be private? Yes, methods also can be private, but in that case you need to call them from other methods, from public methods. Okay, so now if I run this, you can see that enter student name Meg and Ravi, student course ASP.NET, Meg ASP.NET, ASP.NET I'm seeing here. Okay, so now let's go back to the course content. Okay, so I'm seeing another question. So in print details we can do that as student s1 equal to new student s1 dot print name. So I got a question saying like, here if I do s1 dot, okay, so I got a question saying like, in print details, inside this print details, can I create an object like this, student s1 is equal to new student? Normally we will not do like this, because if you want to access any variable within the class, you don't need to create an object. Okay, within a class it is something like, within a class you don't need to create an object. Within a class you can access directly. For example, if I want to access print name, I can access directly print name. I don't need to create an object. An object is intentional. An object will normally be created outside the class, same like how you do it here. For example, when you go to a civil engineer, so the purpose of this, whatever he draws in the paper is to reuse it. So in that case, whatever he gives in this paper, or we call as a design document or a blueprint, so here we will have only the model. Inside this again we'll not create an object of this. Again inside this we will not have like this. Okay, so a class is like blueprint to create objects, and if you see the code, we don't need to create object inside this class. So we will not create object for the same class inside the class. Is it clear now, Babita? Yeah, that's a good question actually. So students will initially, when students want to learn start with object-oriented programming, they will have some doubts like, why I am calling this print name directly here. Instead here I'm calling s1.print details, but why I'm calling here directly print name. So if you want to call any method which is present in a class inside the same class, you don't need to create object. You can directly call print name. You can directly call print course. You don't need to create an object. I repeat again, if you want to call any method within the class, you don't need to create an object. But if you want to call any method outside the class, you have to create an object. Is it clear now for all of you? Okay. So who wants to tell about public and private? Anyone wants to tell any one point about public and private? Who wants to tell what is the difference between public and private? Anyone other than I think Bhavik has already told. Sandhya, we are not able to hear you. So anyone else want to tell what is just one difference between public and private? Yes. Yeah, go ahead, Babita. Yeah.
Public methods or variables can be accessed outside the class, but and it is global, whereas private class and methods can be accessed just only inside the class, not outside the class.
Okay, perfect. Can you repeat for public?
Public variables can be accessed outside the class,
and
it is okay.
I have a question here. Can public variables accessed within the class?
Yes.
Okay, so you're right. So I'll just tell what Babita is saying. Yeah, perfectly right. A public method or variables can be accessed within the class and outside the class. and private variables can be accessed only within the class. Okay, yeah, thank you Babita, thank you. Okay, so now let me ask a question. An object of a class is reference type. How many of you agree with me? An object of a class is reference type. Yeah, it is reference type because objects will be of different size. For example, if you see here, this object, whatever we see here, for example, this object is small object, but this object is a big object. So it should be definitely reference type, because the size is varying, like how it varies for string data type. The size is varying, so different objects will have different size, so object is a reference type. Okay, so let's go to this PDF again. Okay, now how many of you are clear with class and object concepts? I think all of you should be clear now, and also we are clear with public and private variables. Now we'll discuss on this protected and internal later when we are discussing about inheritance. Now I'm going to tell about static class and static method. So we're going to see what is static class and what is static method now. Okay, now let me ask a question. So now, if I want to store 2 student details, how many objects I need to create? I repeat the question. I want to store 2 students details. For example, read student details, print name, and print course. So here, if I want to do s1 dot print details, okay, so this s1 will hold 1 student details. Now student s2 is equal to new student, and here I'll write s2 dot read student details and s1 dot print details. Or what I can do here, instead of printing here s2 or whatever, I can print all the students. Let's take for example 3 students. Okay, I'm going to read 3 students details, so I'm putting here s3. So here I'm making s3. Okay, now I want to print all the details of students. So what I can do here, I can actually write here a comment saying like this: to print I can write here s1 dot print details, s2 dot print details, s3 dot print details. So let's try to run this program and see whether that makes difference. So run this and enter student name. This is for s1, so Meghnad, and course ASP.NET. Enter student name for second course, Ravi. I'm going to enter SQL Server. Now third student, Bharat, and I'm going to enter HTML5. So now if you see here, I'm printing Meghnad, Ravi, and Bharat. So all the student details I'm printing here. Now if I want to store 2 student details, can I use only one object? If I again write s1 dot read student details, what will happen now? It will overwrite the previous values. So if I want to store 2 student details, for sure I need 2 objects. All of you agree with me? If I want to read, or if I want to store 2 student details, I must create 2 objects. If I create only one object and try to call read student details again, the previous name and the course will be gone. Only the recent one will be there. Now let's try to create another class. Let's try to create another class called math library. Okay, another class called math library. So normally in maths we will have some methods like public int add numbers, int a comma int b. Okay, so now I'll write here return a plus b. This is for addition. So what else you want? What else you want for in math library? What else you want for methods? Public int multiply numbers, int a comma int b. Okay, so here I'll write here return a star b. Okay, so I'm seeing a question now. Here someone asked me a question, method need not be declared first in C# before defining them. Yeah, in C# we don't need to do that, but in C language, if you want to define some method, you have to declare it somewhere again. Okay, like this. If you are very familiar with C language, okay, so you have to write like this in C language: include stdio.h void main. And here, if you want to declare any method, for example, if you want to write a method called int factorial, okay, and if you're writing something like this, int I comma fact is equal to 1, or if you write here like this, for example, int n. Okay, so when you write this code, for example, for I is equal to 1, I less than or equal to fact I plus plus. Okay, so here you don't need to, let me try complete this. Fact is equal to fact star I, and here I'm going to return fact. So in C language, if you want to write like this is a function, and inside that anyway you will have code to call this function. So you are defining this. So if you want to write a method like this, you have to declare it somewhere above void main. So you have to write like this: int factorial int n. So any method, all the methods, whatever you have to write here, you have to declare it above somewhere. So you have to declare those methods. But in C# you don't need to do like that. You can directly define the methods. Okay. So now this, how many classes I have now so far? I'll just minimize this. How many classes I have inside this console application? I have 3. So anyway, program execution will start only in main method. So that main method is present in program main method. So now I have 2 classes, math library and student. So math library is having add numbers and multiply numbers. So now let's try to have some other methods. Let's ask some maths questions. What is the value of sine 90? We are not able to remember what we discussed in the previous class, but how can we remember which we studied long back, that to 10 years back, right? I see 2 responses. Anyone knows what is the value of sine 90? Just for a change, let's try to see how many of you know this. I see only 2 responses. None of you know the value of sine 90? Quickly Google, is it? Anyone else know what is the value of sine 90? Okay, so that's fine. So some of you might not be math students, so that's okay. So now here we have add numbers and multiply numbers. So the purpose of this math library is to reuse these methods, add numbers, multiply numbers, or whatever methods we have. Now in my class program, I want to call add numbers. Okay, so now I'll comment this code, or what we will do is I'll comment this code for now. Again, we'll get back to this in some time. Now if I want to add 2 numbers, let's say for example int a is equal to 5, int b is or b is equal to 10. Now if I want to add 2 numbers, how can I call this method add numbers? How can I call this method add numbers? Here, can some of you tell me? I need to create an object. So correct. So math library ml is equal to new ml1 m1 is equal to new math library, and I need to write console.writeLine m1 dot add numbers. I can write a comma b. Okay, so let's not worry about this. Okay, I'm writing a comma b. Okay, now I have a question for all of you. I have another set of numbers, int c is equal to 20, d is equal to 30. Now question to all of you. I want to add C and D. So do I need to create another object like M2, or I can use M1.addNumbers? Question to all of you. Do I need to create a new object? I repeat again. Some of you are telling no and some of you are telling yes. So I want to add C and D now. Do I need to create new object M2, or I can call M1.addNumbers? Actually, to be very frank, we can reuse the same object because you're not storing anything in M1. Are you storing anything in M1? Previously, if you saw student S1, you are storing some details in S1. What are the details you are storing in S1? You are storing the details like, what are the details you are storing in S1? Name and course. But are you storing anything in M1? We are not storing anything in M1. We are just calling add numbers. If you see here, math library is not having any variables. You are not storing any details. So there is no concept of overriding. So what you can do here, you can simply write again console.writeLine M1.addNumbers. You can write C, D. How many of you agree with me that no need to create objects? No need to create another object called M2? Yeah, so right, so all of you are right. So we don't need to create another object because you are not storing anything in M1. You are only doing some functionality. But here in case of student, in S1 you are storing some values, in S2 you are storing some values. So here if I execute this, whenever I call M1.addNumbers, it'll send A, B values to here, and it will return 15. Now when I call C, D, it will tell 20, 30, and 20, 30 will go here. Here it will be 20, and here it will be 30, and it will return 50. So now let's run this and see the difference. So I'm getting 15 and 50. Okay. So you don't need to create an object here. So now I'm getting some questions but we get the result for C and D. Yeah, we are getting the result. Here we are getting AB, and here we are getting CD. That's it. Now, so in case where creating object doesn't make sense, so in this case you don't need to create an object, because creating an object doesn't make sense, because for any number of times if you want to call add numbers, you can use the same object. So do you think creating two objects for math library makes sense? Creating two objects for math library? No, right. So creating two objects for math library doesn't make sense, because you want to only add, you want to do some functionality, you are not storing any data. In that case, make these methods as static methods. I repeat again, when creating objects doesn't make sense, you can make that methods as static methods. And when you make the method as static, you don't need to create an object. See now? But I cannot make this methods as static, because I have to create objects. Because to store multiple students, I have to create multiple objects. But here, creating objects doesn't make sense. So here, what I'll do here, I'm making this as static. And I'm making this as static. So how to access the static methods is, you don't need to create an object. So you can directly, this line is not required. You don't need to create object anymore. So you can directly call here math library dot add numbers, and again here I can write here math library dot add numbers. So when I execute this, you will see the same output. Okay, so I repeat again, when creating objects doesn't make sense, when creating multiple objects doesn't make sense, you make the method as static. So when you make the method as static, you can call the method directly using class name dot method name. So you don't need to create object. You don't need to create object. You can call any number of times using class name dot method name. Okay, so I see some questions. Do we need to kill the object in the end? Okay, so we don't need to create the object in the end in C#, so it will take care of automatically. We have something called garbage collection, so that we will see later. For now, I repeat again, if creating multiple objects doesn't make sense, then we need to make the method as static. Once we make the method as static, we can access using class name.method name. Okay, so I'm seeing another question. So let's see what is the question. Again, if I have to create data for 20 students, do we have to create 20 objects or just using a for loop? In that case, so I got a question saying like, if I want to store 20 students, so in that case, I can actually create a list here. List of student is equal to new list of student. So anyway, we'll discuss on this later. So we can create a list of student, and I can give name as students, and I can actually store the details inside this list. You don't need to create 20 variables like S1, S2, S3, S4 like that. Okay, so we'll discuss that tomorrow. So okay, so now is it clear why I made this method add numbers as static? Very important, because in interviews they will ask you, why do we need static methods? If creating multiple objects doesn't make sense, we can make all the methods as static. Any other static method which you know till now? The first class we discussed one static method where you are accessing using class name.method name. Okay, main is anyway static, leave out main. Other method is there which we are accessing using class name.method name. Class name.method name. In the same line I have that. Yeah. So write line is actually a static method inside your console. That's the reason why we are accessing using console.writeLine. Otherwise, how we should have accessed, you know? We should create an object console C is equal to new console, and then we need to write C.writeLine. But that doesn't make sense again. When you want to call writeLine, creating object doesn't make sense. So they made this writeLine as static method. So if you see here, if you right click here and go to definition, right click on this, and if you click on go to definition, where is that go to definition? Here. So here, if you right click on the method and select this option called go to definition, so you will see that. So let me do that. Right click, go to definition. So what is this writeLine method? WriteLine method is what is static method or normal method? It's a static method. Why they made that static method is creating object doesn't make sense. So that is where we create a static method. So how do we access static methods? Do we need to create objects to access static methods? So how do we access then? How do we access static methods? Class name.method name. Okay. So in interviews, when you attend any interview, if someone asks you what is the use of static methods, you need to explain this. If creating multiple objects doesn't make any sense, we have to go for creating that as a static method. And the other difference you need to tell, if you want to access a static method, you have to call using class name.method name. Okay. Now, if you think all the methods in a class, are static, then you can make the class also static. Okay. I repeat again. If you think all the methods in the class are static, you can make the class also static. So a static class can only contain static methods. For example, if I make this as normal class, and if I have a method called public void print hello, and I can have here console.writeLine hello. So now if I want to access add numbers, I don't need to create object. I can access using mathlibrary.addNumbers. But if I want to access print hello, what I need to do? If I want to access print hello method of math library, how to access this? Can I do class name dot method print hello, math library dot print hello? I cannot do. I need to create using object. So only static methods can be accessed using class name dot method name. Normal methods you have to create object math library. See now, if I type here math library dot, I'm only seeing add numbers and multiply numbers. I'm not seeing print hello. So if I want to access print hello, I have to create m1 is equal to new math library, and here m1 dot print hello. I'm seeing this. Okay, so that is the difference between. So I ask a question: a normal class can contain both static methods and normal methods. Do you agree? A normal class can have both static methods and normal methods. Yes. If you want all your class methods, but if you make this class as static, so I'm making this class as static now. Now, if I make a class as static, I cannot create object for it. See now, if I create object now, see what happens. Math library ml is equal to new math library, and let's try to rebuild this. So I'm getting an error. What is that error now? What is that error? Cannot declare variable for static type. So now I repeat again. If you make a class as static method, you cannot create an object. If you cannot create object, can you access this method anyhow? So we cannot access. For that reason, what they did was, a static class can only have static methods. So I repeat again. A normal class can have static methods as well as normal methods, whereas a static class can only have static methods. So I cannot have print hello here. Even if I have it, I cannot use it because I cannot create an object for static class. Okay, very important, very important. I repeat, a normal class can have static methods as well as normal methods. A static class can only have static methods. And how do you access static methods? We access static methods using class name dot method name. And when do we go for static methods? If creating multiple objects doesn't make sense, you have to go for creating static methods. How do you access normal methods? Normal methods we access using object name dot method name. How many of you are very clear in whatever we discussed so far? Just like 100% clear, or 70% clear, or 50% clear, or not clear? Whatever we discussed in today's class. Feel free, so that will help me to correct or to teach better. So how many of you are 100% clear? Just tell me how much percent you are clear on whatever we discussed today. Class, object, and how to access static classes, or how to access static methods, what is a static class, what is static method, and all these things, how to access. So definitely you have to practice for sure. So yeah, I'm happy that at least most of you are telling 80% clear, 90% clear, or 100% clear. So feel practice a lot, otherwise it will be difficult. So watch the video again. I'll share the video with H2K team, and they will share with you now. So I'll not be sharing directly with you from now on. I'll be sharing with H2K team, and they will share with you. So you have to talk to training@h2kinfosys.com, or you can call them to get this recording. Okay. So yeah. So now, for those who are thinking, like, let me quickly summarize what we discussed in this today's class. So we discussed about class and object concepts, and we saw like a class is blueprint to create objects. A class will have methods and variables, and we saw an object is instance of a class. And we saw that we learned about public and private variables. A public variable can be accessed. A public variable or method can be accessed anywhere within the class or outside the class. A private variable or method can be accessed only within the class. And we saw that static methods, if creating an object doesn't make sense, we make that method as static, and we access static methods using class name dot method name. A static class is the class which has all the static methods, and you cannot create an object of a static class, and a static class cannot have normal methods. A normal class can have static methods as well as normal methods. So I went really fast, or the summary should be like that only, because you should be focusing completely on this summary, otherwise you will miss out. So we'll stop here, and definitely you have to practice. So you have to practice whatever we discussed. Okay, so any questions here? We'll spend 5 minutes for Q&A.
H2K Infosys provides world-class online IT training, staffing, and software testing solutions to customers worldwide. H2K Infosys, how we are different from our competitors. 100% job-oriented training, hands-on project work, cloud test lab, resume preparation and review, mock interviews, robust syllabus, one-time fee and lifetime access to classes, access to recorded sessions of live classes. H2K Infosys has won the trust of thousands of students worldwide. For a free demo class, visit us at h2kinfosys.com.